Hello and welcome to The Trade. Before we get into the charts, let's take a look at what traders are watching. And US manufacturing contracted for the 9th straight month in November, with factories facing slumping orders and higher prices for inputs as the drag from tariffs persisted. Bitcoin has slumped, with the world's largest crypto down about 6%, on track for its largest daily percentage fall since early November, as risk aversion drove investors out of digital and other assets. US consumers are expected to spend more than $14 billion on Cyber Monday, according to Adobe Analytics, after a strong Black Friday weekend that saw wealthier consumers spend freely and low-income shoppers hunting for bargains. And the head of Britain's fiscal watchdog resigned after the agency last week inadvertently released key details of the government's annual tax and spending budget before the finance minister announced them in Parliament. Let's now get to the charts. Hebi Chen joining us from Vantage Markets. Hebi, welcome back. Good to have you on the show. So we're going to look at three stocks in particular. Now, I was just mentioning the retailers there, given we're in the midst of Black Friday and Cyber Monday, when the retailers are very much in focus. Let's start with what is considered one of the highest quality retailers on the local market, being JB Hi-Fi. What are you seeing?
Yeah, good morning, Andrew. Thank you for having me here today. Yes, you're right. I think that the reason that drew my attention to JB Hi-Fi is that if you went to the shopping center, I think for the last weekend, you'll probably be surprised and shocked by how strong and resilient the consumption momentum here. I think that's probably not good news for inflation, but definitely a good news for the strong retailer like JB Hi-Fi, which remains one of the most reliable and resilient performers in the country. So, just out of curiosity, I have checked the seasonal pattern for JB Hi-Fi for the past 10 years, past 10 Decembers, and I found out that for the past 10 Decembers, out of 10 years, that the JB Hi-Fi share price has often performed pretty strong in December, and with an average 1.7 and median 1.2 increase by the end of the month. So I think that's quite a positive sign. And in terms of technical setup, I also noticed something of the setting up has been changed. You can see the prices after they're pulling back roughly about 20% from the October peak. That pretty similar to the March and April correction. We do see the price seems to have found its support, hopefully, and potentially a bottom is at $94.87 level. We do seeing a bit of the recovery from this level in terms of you can see the daily KDJ has shown that the momentum is warming up. The buyers is now slowly coming in, and the next level, the next key critical resistance I was seeing that is the 20 days moving average is roughly this green line here at 97.45. Once the prices manage to conquer this level, I think potentially we're seeing the prices will continue climb up above the 100, which is of course the psychological level, also a critical resistance here. I think that's for the bull cases. On the other hand, even the prices cannot manage to stand above the 20 days in the short term. I think the potentially 94.87 and as well as this ascending trend line, the black line, which you can see the close here, will continue to support the prices to stabilize, potentially to stage a recovery in December.
All right, that's what you're seeing with JB Hi-Fi. Hebi, let's turn to one of the largest banks in NAB. I see you pointing out that you're saying this is one of the cleanest cyclical plays on a stronger Australian GDP outlook. Talk us through the chart.
Yes, indeed. I think that all eyes is on GDP that will report tomorrow, and I think that the big banks or the big fours will definitely under the spotlight. But out of four, I think that the NAB will be most sensitive, given this is a quiet business exposed bank, and the strong GDP typically will lift business confidence and the increase the small business lending, and definitely a good news for them if that we do have a big strong GDP figure tomorrow. And technically we do see that like all the three other banks, the NAB has pulled back roughly about 11% from the October high and broken below the key 40.32 support level. I think this is a level will act as both a ceiling as well as a floor over the past 2 years. The break highlights how cautious the market has become in the past 2 months. Largely has become coming from the valuation concerned. The prices, as you can see from the technical chart here, is now sitting near the 39.05 area, right just on the 200 days moving average. So that will be definitely a fine line to determine whether the prices will continue to open the floor to the further down, or they will potentially stage a stabilization above this level. So I think tomorrow's GDP will definitely a critical catalyst for the prices to determine whether or not the NAB could stay above $40 levels in the near term.
And Hebby, thirdly, let's turn to ProMedicus. We were just talking about this stock as potentially a compelling buy. Interested to see what you're seeing on the chart, particularly given that pullback we've seen in the stock.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I do heard the previous guest talk about quite a lot of fundamentals. So I'll probably just focus on the technical, what I've seen. I do think that after a pretty volatile October and November, these prices, the stock has been pulling back as deep as 30% from its peak, from September peak. But over the past week, I've already seen some of signs of stabilization. The chart I'm putting up here is actually a weekly chart. As you can see, I think the number one sign that I do notice is from the momentum side, that you can see the KDJ line has showing a golden close, which is pretty similar to the one we have seen back into March and April. On the other hand, even the MACD is still in the negative area, but already showing signs of flattening. So I think both are two signs that showing potentially we're seeing a bit of the bottoming out from this level. In terms of price now, that after topping near 350, now the price is sort of settling into 250 and 260 level. It's now attempting to retake the 200 weeks moving average around 272. I think that's a critical level. A sustained break above the level could be the first meaningful indication that the selling pressure has exhausted. We'll see the prices now will return back into the 300 level and even the further reclaim the previous peak. The next test will definitely sit on the 290 region. That's the February peak as well as the 20-week moving average. Clearing all these straight resistance lines, the 20 weeks, 200 weeks, I think the February highs that will potentially build a pretty strong case for a recovery back above $300.
Hebby, terrific. You can talk us through those three stocks and what you're seeing technically. Thanks for joining us in Vantage Markets.
Thank you, Andrew.
And that is the trade.